welcome to The Print. Today we are joined by a distinguished guest, Manvendra Singh, who is a BJP leader and editor-in-chief of Defense and Security Alert. He's also our esteemed print columnist, and today we discuss more on his article that talks about why targeting military air bases of the Pakistan Air Force is now a fair game. So, sir, in your article, you write that taking the counter terror initiative, which is Operation Sindoor, to its points of origin, India's actions have blurred the lines that were once sacrosanct militarily and diplomatically. If you could talk a little bit about this in details and how has India's decision to target Pakistani military air bases altered the traditional norms of engagement between the two countries, like you say, both militarily and diplomatically?
Okay, thank you. I think the lines that I referred to were basically sort of conventionally accepted rules of engagement over the last decades, where at least across the international boundary, military installations were not targeted by each other because they were sort of out of bounds by diplomatic niceties and military protocols.
Right.
However, once India engaged terrorist targets on the first night of attacks, then the wave of drones, the drone attacks and missile attacks that have appeared since then over Indian bases, because they targeted Indian bases which which were engaging terrorists. So essentially, the Pakistani Air Force or the Pakistani military bases were being used to target Indian bases that were engaging in counter-terrorism actions.
Absolutely.
That brought in the Pakistani air bases into the equilibrium, into the game of being acceptable targets, and that's where those previous lines of military and diplomatic protocols have got blurred, have got erased to a greater degree now.
Right, absolutely. And sir, another thing that your article mentions was how you talked at length about how India is selecting its range of these specific Pakistani military targets, those that serve as launch pads for drones or other attacks. How does the selection of targets, such as Rahim Yar Khan, for instance, reflect India's evolving rules of engagement and attribution logic in this scenario or situation?
It's a guess I made because I was in Jaisalmer the night when Jaisalmer was attacked first time.
Right.
2 nights ago, and it's only logical that being Jaisalmer being geographically located where it is, it's only logical for me that the origins of the Jaisalmer attack would be Rahim Yar Khan, and once Rahim Yar Khan is used to attack Jaisalmer, then it becomes kosher, then it becomes acceptable for the Air Force or Army who was targeting it, for them to target Rahim Yar Khan. So I guess subsequently the other targets, I can't speak for the Air Force, they would know better why they've selected targets. I would believe that the other targets were selected for the same reason, or pretty much the same reason. Whether it's drone attacks or it's missile attacks, they would have been used to target Indian, air bases, Indian infrastructure in that period. So that's what I think they would have been selected.
Right. I think that makes a lot of sense. And sir, there is this very important thing that you mentioned in the article, which is on the chief architect of all of this, which is the Pakistani Army Chief Asim Munir. And you, of course, talk about him extensively, but there's an extremely important point that you highlight, which is how he's the first Punjabi to head the Pakistan Army while it is up in arms against India. So all the previous army chiefs who led their country into conflict with India per se were non-Punjabi. So why do you think this is important, and in what ways then does Munir's unique background shape Pakistan's military posture and its narrative in the current conflict or in the current scenario?
If you look at the origins of the Pakistani terrorists who operate in India,
right,
I would say that from what I know, I would say that about 85% of them are from Punjab.
Right.
and 15% of them are from what is now Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, um, or the northwest frontier areas. None of them happen to be from Sindh or Balochistan, and which is also pretty much the composition of the Pakistan army. But I think it's less. I mean, it's 75% Punjabi, and the rest is Pathan, and then Pashto speaking or whatever like that. So, and that's also the composition of the officer corps in the Pakistan Army, which is the most important institution in Pakistan. So the coincidence of having a Punjabi chief in a Punjabi army, or predominantly Punjabi army, that has been launching just basically Punjabis into terrorist activities in India, and that's been the case for the last 30 years now. Since the jihadi elements took over the terrorist activities in Kashmir, it's been pretty much Punjabi led, Punjabi created in that sense. So I thought that was a coincidence which needed to be analyzed further, and I'm going to attempt doing that again. I mean, a little later, but it's something worth looking at, because is that does that coalesce somewhere in terms of policy that the larger establishment, covert intelligence establishment in Pakistan, desires to reach? I don't know, but it's what I would like to say. It is the Sunni coalescence of interests, which is being thrust at this time.
Absolutely. I think this is something that going ahead will need a lot of further deliberation, like you mentioned. And this is a very important point that you've highlighted as well, sir. Thank you so much for your time.